What if I told you that people were paying $220 a share for a company that doesn't have public shares yet, and that the company in question loses $5 billion a year? And that Wall Street Bets, the people who turned GameStop into a religion and made tendies a financial term, had over 1,600 conversations about it in a single week. Welcome to Stockheads. Let's set the scene. SpaceX. Founded in 2002 by a guy named Elon Musk, you may have heard of him. He also owns a car company, an AI company, a social media platform, a tunneling company, and according to some estimates, a controlling interest in the concept of attention itself. SpaceX's whole pitch was simple: make rockets reusable, make space cheap, then go to Mars and make humanity a multiplanetary species. Easy stuff. And they actually did it! They became the world's most prolific rocket launcher. Their Falcon 9 has flown over 400 times. They dominate commercial space launches. Their satellite internet service, Starlink, hit 10 million subscribers across 160 countries by early 2026. And then, in February 2026, they acquired xAI, Elon's artificial intelligence company, which also owns X, formerly known as Twitter, in an all-stock deal valuing the combined entity at $1.25 trillion. So now SpaceX isn't just a rocket company. It's a rocket company plus satellite internet plus AI plus social media. It's basically what would happen if NASA, Google, and your worst Twitter argument had a baby. And that company just went public. Now, to understand just how unhinged this IPO story is, we need to do a quick timeline. Let's call it the valuation speed run. July 2025, SpaceX does an insider share sale, price per share, $212. Total valuation, $400 billion. Big number, impressive. We move on. December 2025, another insider sale, price now $421 per share, almost double in 5 months. Valuation, $800 billion. At this point, SpaceX is the most valuable private company on Earth, beating OpenAI. The CFO, Brett Johnson, sends a memo to employees saying a 2026 IPO is being prepared, but timing is, quote, highly uncertain. January 2026, the Financial Times reports SpaceX is eyeing a mid-June IPO at a $1.5 trillion valuation, aiming to raise $50 billion, which would shatter the record for the largest IPO in history. February 2026, SpaceX acquires xAI, combined valuation $1.25 trillion before the roadshow even starts. March 2026, Bloomberg reports SpaceX is considering a fundraising target of $75 billion. The number keeps going up. April 1st, 2026, and yes, that is April Fool's Day, SpaceX confidentially files for an IPO with the SEC. No, it's not a joke. May 2026, the S1 drops publicly. For the first time ever, the world gets to see SpaceX's actual finances. And also in May, they do a 5-for-1 stock split, bringing the per share price down ahead of the offering. June 4th, the roadshow launches. Google announces a $920 million per month data center deal with SpaceX. That's over $11 billion a year just from Google alone, more than SpaceX's entire Starlink revenue the year before. One portfolio manager told CNBC, "I've never seen anything like it." He projected SpaceX could reach $200 billion in revenue by 2030 and called that forecast conservative. Conservative, $200 billion. June 11th, IPO price set at $135 per share. Valuation, $1.7 trillion. The Super Bowl of IPOs was officially on. But here's where it gets truly unhinged. Before the IPO, before the stock even existed on a public exchange, before regular humans could buy a single share, the crypto world had already created a battlefield. On a platform called Hyperliquid, traders were buying and selling perpetual futures contracts linked to SPCX. These aren't real shares. There's no company behind them, no dividends, no voting rights, just a price, a direction, and as much leverage as you want to strap on. And in May 2026, before the IPO price was even set at $135, the SPCX perpetual contract hit a peak of $220 per share. That's a $2.8 trillion implied valuation for a company that hadn't issued public shares yet, priced by people using leverage on a crypto exchange. By IPO week, the contract had cooled to around 176, still 30% above the IPO price. More than $233 million of these contracts traded hands in a single 24-hour period. Open interest climbed above $263 million. This wasn't a sideshow. This was the pre-IPO market for retail. Now, most people can't trade crypto perps. Most people were on Reddit, and Reddit, specifically Wall Street Bets, was absolutely cooking. Over 1,600 mentions of SpaceX on our Wall Street Bets in the days leading up to the IPO alone. The sub was at DEFCON 1. And like any good WSB moment, it split into two warring factions, the Bulls and the Bears. Now let's do something radical on a finance channel and look at the actual numbers. SpaceX filed its S1 with the SEC on May 20th, 2026. For the first time in the company's 24-year history, we got to see what's actually happening inside the rocket factory, and it's complicated. Starlink alone, $11.4 billion in 2025 revenue, up 48% from 2024, 10.3 million subscribers by Q1 2026. And crucially, Starlink is the only profitable segment, generating $4.4 billion in operating profit. The Google deal announced during the roadshow $920 million per month for orbital AI compute. That's more than $11 billion a year from one customer alone. Now the less good news. Net loss in 2025, $4.9 billion. They lost nearly $5 billion last year. Net loss in just Q1 2026, $4.28 billion in one quarter. Total accumulated deficit since founding in 2002, $41.3 billion. Long-term debt, $29.1 billion. And the XAI segment, Grok X, the AI stuff, recorded a $6.35 billion operating loss in 2025. Starlink isn't just keeping the lights on, Starlink is paying for everything. Starlink is the one friend in the group who always covers the bill. Here's the thing that makes this different from your average loss-making tech company. When you buy SpaceX, you're not just buying a rocket company. You're also buying Starlink, 10 million subscribers, growing fast, serving maritime, aviation, military, government, and rural markets that no ground-based internet can reach. Revenue growing 48% a year. You're buying XAI and Grok and X, Elon's artificial intelligence play, now merged into SpaceX, losing money currently. But if AI is the next great platform shift, SpaceX now owns both the infrastructure in space and the AI software running on it. You're buying orbital AI data centers, which is the wildcard. SpaceX filed plans with the FCC to deploy AI compute satellites by 2028, run AI workloads from orbit, powered by solar energy, beamed down via Starlink. Google's already signed a multi-billion-dollar deal. If this works, it could be the most significant infrastructure bet since the internet. And in their S1, their actual legal filing with the SEC, SpaceX lists future markets as space tourism, in-orbit manufacturing, and asteroid mining. Asteroid mining. It's in the document. It has a section. Someone wrote it. A lawyer approved it. Whether that's visionary or delusional is a matter of debate. June 12th, 2026. IPO day. SpaceX became immediately one of the most valuable companies ever listed on a public exchange. Elon Musk, who already runs Tesla, the most valuable car company in the world, became the first person to helm two separate trillion-dollar public companies simultaneously. And the retail angle? SpaceX gave 20% of shares to everyday investors, 3 to 4 times the typical allocation. Fidelity dropped their account minimum from up to $500,000 all the way down to $2,000, just so more regular people could get in. That tells you everything about what this IPO was designed to be. Not just a Wall Street event, a Main Street moment. So, here's where we land. SpaceX is simultaneously the most audacious IPO in human history and a loss-making conglomerate burning billions per quarter. It's backed by the fastest growing revenue business on the planet in Starlink and priced by crypto degens before it even had real shares. It was debated in 1,600 Wall Street Bets posts by people who were going to buy it no matter what the bear said. Is it a generational wealth opportunity? Maybe. SpaceX does things no one else can. They're building infrastructure for a world that doesn't exist yet. Is it a $1.77 trillion bet on one man's vision of the future, priced by a market that hasn't met a number it couldn't hype? Also, yes. Welcome to the market in 2026. Welcome to SpaceX. Welcome to Stockheads. Like, subscribe, and for the love of tendies, this is not financial advice.